Okay, video for this week, and actually for the last couple of weeks. We're finally getting a chance to video. I was out of town last week at the Ligonier Ministries Conference, but here's a couple of questions from this week's 717 service. How long were Adam and Eve in the garden before eating the forbidden fruit? Answer, I have no idea. We really don't have a lot of sense of how long they were there. We do know they were given the task of naming the animals and cultivating the garden. So I'm assuming at least some period of time has passed, more than a day or two or a week or two. They are given this task. It seems like they're on to the task a bit. They seem to be busy about that, and that the walking with the Lord in the cool of the evening seems to be a regular experience for them. At least it seems like something that they were used to. So I'm assuming that they were in the garden for more than a day, whether it's months, weeks, months, or years, don't know. So that's a good question. We're just not told that. And so Adam and Eve may have been there for some period of time. If that's the case, then did they have children in the garden prior to the fall? And those kinds of things then come into play. What happened in that case? Are the children then swept into Adam and Eve's sin and banished with them? The only problem with that is there's no mention of children within the dialogue of the post-fall experience. So I'm assuming that that the fall occurs prior to childbirth, I assume. So anyway, good question though, I'm not sure. What is the name of the book you were talking about that Meg knows the author? The name of the book is In the Word, and the Word Came with Power. And the Word Came with Power, and Joanne Sheetler will be here on March the 8th, Sunday evening. She will be here, and I'm hoping she'll be able to share some of her experiences from her work in the Philippines. She is an amazing individual. For her missional book, In the Word Came with Power, is my favorite book on missions that I've ever read. My family right now is reading it together at night. It's probably my third or fourth time through the book. The first chapter of that book, almost every time I read it, I tear up. Some of that is because I know the rest of the story. But anyway, so she will be here on March the 8th. And so I encourage everyone within our congregation who can make it that evening to the Sunday night service, the 6:46 service, the service that starts around 6:45, to be here on Sunday night to hear her and hear her story. All right, another question. In Ezra 10, the Jews leave all the pagan that had never should have married. So they did this, leaving them without proper course. And not like bearing through it like Hosea. Well, Hosea actually was probably married to a Jewish person who just happened to be a harlot. So that's there's a little different than the issue with Ezra. However, that being said, this is a good question. The question I have for Ezra is, did they do the right thing? Sometimes in the Bible, we're told that people do stuff, and we're not necessarily told from the Bible that the thing they chose to do was the right thing to do. So, for instance, you have the Moabitess Ruth marrying Boaz, and she winds up in the lineage of King David. You have the example of Rahab the harlot, who also winds up in the Davidic line, and ultimately both of them the Messianic line. So there you have examples of non-Jewish women being married by Jewish men, and there's a blessing in many ways put upon them. So I'm not sure that I think Ezra, they do what is described in the book of Ezra, but I'm not sure it's the right thing, and I'm not sure it's God endorsed. This is one of the challenges with the Bible, is that sometimes we get historical descriptions of events without a commentary from God on its appropriateness. The one place where you get a little help is at the end of Judges, when you have just a horrific event, which a murder of these guys and the rape of these women. It's just terrible. And at the very end of Judges, it says this, that people did what was right in their own eyes. And I think that's what you get in a lot of the Bible, is that even well-intentioned individuals will make horrific choices that God would never endorse or did not endorse. We're told what they did, but we're not told that God endorsed it. So in the book of Ezra, I'm convinced that Ezra's passion for purity among the people was not necessarily the right thing to do. Number one. Number two is, I'm not sure that they completely followed Ezra's command in totality. So I suspect there were some people who said, all right, we're going to do what you said, Ezra, and some people said, well, we're moving. I don't know. We don't get a lot of details there, but I don't think that that Ezra's approach was necessarily the right one. So that's a good question. I don't like the event either. I agree with you. I think they should have never married them in the first place, but once they made the covenant with them, they should have stayed married to them. I think this is true of individuals where within the church, if you have a believing person marry an unbeliever, once they marry that person, they should stay married to them, and that Ezra's approach here is not the right approach in that regard. So good question, and I guess the short answer is I don't agree with Ezra in this, and I think we don't find out God's opinion on it, so I guess we won't know till Judgment Day. All right, those are the 3 questions from 717. Y'all have a good week.